future trends, deep insights, industry leaders. This is the iGaming Next podcast with your host, Karolina Pelc.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to yet another episode of a podcast I have the pleasure to run for iGaming Next. My name is Karolina Pelc. I'm a gaming industry consultant and as of recently also a founder and CEO of a new tech business. I'm here today with two very special guests and guests that I have a very sentimental relationship with. Before I hand it off to them to start chatting, I'd like to give you a quick introduction. They are very well-known figures in the industry, so not too many details needed. But just quickly, Gustaf Hagman, welcome Gustaf, Group CEO and co-founder of LeoVegas Mobile Gaming Group. Gustaf has over 20 years experience in entrepreneurship and the online gaming industry and has previously built organizations up to over 100 employees. Before he co-founded LeoVegas, Gustaf was CEO of the listed company Net Gaming AB. He also founded and was the CEO of Eurobet Nordic AB. As the group CEO, Gustaf works with the company strategy and planning. It is his duty to lead the company and to handle stock market related questions and to ensure that LeoVegas achieves goals that the board and the owners have set up. Welcome, Gustaf. The second guest, Robin Ramm-Ericson, co-founder of the LeoVegas Mobile Gaming Group, previously chairman of the board and CXO, entrepreneur, freediver, and passionate tech investor. One of the two co-founders of LeoVegas Mobile Gaming Group, representing a strong strategic vision, operational drive, and innovation lead. As a chairman of the board and CXO, together with his co-founder Gustaf, taking the company on a journey from initial idea to IPO and Sweden's 8th unicorn company. Prior to LeoVegas, Robin held multiple CEO and head of product development positions at gaming and tech companies. Given my history with Leo, I'm delighted to have you as a guest today. It's been a while since we've seen each other as well in this setting. So hi and welcome. Thank you for finding the time today.
Hey, Karolina.
Hi, Karolina.
Good to see you as always.
Yeah, awesome to see you as always, yes.
So I think, this is going to be really fun because we know each other well, and it's much more easy for me because I'm less nervous talking to you guys. But I think for our listeners, if we could maybe, start on a very brief background of how you guys met, how did you come about on taking the idea of co-founding LeoVegas, and how did you decide how you're going to do it? What are going to be your first steps?
No, that sounds great. I mean, we know each other from senior high school, and we've always been discussing on the next big thing. And
we were running a company back in 2003 something. So
we know each other quite well.
Exactly.
And I think that's also an important part of why we could move so fast. Because we know each other, and when we started talking about LeoVegas, it was one of those days and moments in great spirit, atmosphere, everything is possible. And I was actually at Gustaf's house.
Are you talking about that evening, the barbecue evening? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, well, I hosted a barbecue, and Robin and his family was over, and I had one of those folded iPhone 3S, I think it was.
I mean, now we're talking about 2011. I mean, I know it sounds like decades ago, but actually at that time,
like in May.
Yeah, May. The iPhone was actually rounded on the back. It wasn't the flat one, rounded on the back.
A little bit folded, and I started to play with it on a table like that. And,
it was so cuddly and cute, that little thing. Me myself had a BlackBerry. I mean, it was great for communication, encrypted. You can chat on everything.
But you loved your BlackBerry.
It was really efficient, but it wasn't fun. But your iPhone was. It really was.
The touch and everything.
Yeah, I loved it. I just instantly loved it.
So, but anyway, when we were playing around, I think we almost at the same time started to think about this. Looks a little bit like a roulette, where you could play with it, and you could maybe make a roulette wheel on the phone like that.
And we actually started spinning it on the table, like literally spinning it. And from there, and that decision, that from the iPhone, we were to launch the most amazing and innovative gaming experience. Actually, is founded on the principle that LeoVegas was literally born out of a spinning iPhone.
Right. So that's one story no one ever heard. iPhone. I love that story. It brings me great memories from the very beginning of Leo, where everything was about innovation. And I think with being such a large and well-established organization that you guys are now, it's hard to imagine the startup days. And I would like to take a journey to the past. So you could talk to me a little bit about those first days, establishing the company, looking for funding, looking for partners, building the team. Tell us the really nitty-gritty details of starting this business.
Well, basically from that evening when we decided to go with mobile first, and we also decided on a name, LeoVegas, our name. Leo is lion in Latin, and Vegas, the city of your dreams. And we wanted to have a name with like a first name and a last name, gives you a greater sort of feeling around it. We also sort of quit our daytime work quite quickly and started funding of LeoVegas. And I remember it was done before midsummer, more or less, a couple of weeks.
No, because we started actually with nothing apart from a clear vision. I mean, we want to be number one in mobile gaming, creating the greatest gaming experience. I mean, that's very clear from the start. I mean, and why was that so obvious? Because when you see the mobile, I mean, that wasn't no longer a communication device. It was the primary entertainment device. I mean, up until then, for 60 years, TV has been ruling the world. But now you had this amazing little cuddly tool that was just showing the way. And we have this principle that mobile makes everything more fun. I mean, look at Candy Crush, for example, that was taking off in the same era. It wasn't like McKinsey was sitting saying, grown-ups need to do more puzzles, so let's build a Candy Crush. It was just that
it was built out of fun. Those parts,
it was built out of fun, the playfulness, the intuitiveness. Yeah. I mean, that was the original concept that we based LeoVegas on, because we had nothing really more than ourselves, a very clear vision. But when it comes to leadership, I think for me, it is when you have a vision and people passionately follow that, then you're a leader. And I think we were as people, and LeoVegas has really been as a company.
Definitely but important for us in the beginning was to find the right people to work with. And so the first guys that we hired were more back-end tech guys and product guys like that. And so during the autumn, we built LeoVegas. Everything, the front and the back end, etc. And then we went live the 12th of January 2012.
And the 12th of January 2012, all of us in the company we were 5 people. We were 5, all of us, ready to take on sort of a challenge that, in hindsight, I mean, is immense, but with a passion that I think it's unmatched. And looking at that, I mean, how could we launch it? Well, we needed partners. I mean, we needed partners. First of all, we needed games. There were no mobile games around, so we scouted the world looking for games. And at that time, they were not really as vivid and immersive as they are today. But we found very first games, and we also talked with the people that were developing the next generation of games. So already from the very first day, we were able to launch content. I mean, the very best content that we scouted the world for. And we had a pipeline of things coming out, which we know was going to be next big. So we could launch with the principle, we're going to always be first with the latest.
Karolina, do you remember which games that we had in the beginning?
I remember, well, not specific the games, but I remember that we had a very close relationship with NetEnt, because I think LeoVegas was the first one to launch NetEnt games on mobile, exactly, as a matter of fact. So this is what I wanted to ask you. Could you tell us a little bit about, because it's one thing to have a vision. You're going to be the best mobile casino. You've got the product, you've got the back end and front end optimized, and you control all of that. But then comes third parties and working with game providers and all the other partners. Were they ready for the revolution that you wanted to start? And how did you go about convincing them that, you need to get ready, you need to step up the game and be part of this mobile revolution?
I mean, first of all,
not really. Actually, I remember NetEnt at that time just had a few games. Microgaming had also a couple of games. So I think we had just a couple of games, 5 or 6 games to start off with. It's like Jackhammer, Gonzo, Starburst.
Starburst wasn't really on there yet, but
Starburst not on there. It was a Blackjack.
Blackjack we had
but then after like 3 months or something, there were around 20 games actually available. But another thing that you should remember is actually that a lot of our competitors, they also launched fairly quick actually. So after a couple of 6 to 8 weeks or something, the larger operators here in Nordics actually had their mobile offering, but they never built out of the mobile. And that's the difference. We were a mobile first company with mobile DNA from day one, and not trying to squeeze the desktop offering into the mobile. And I think that's also key to it, because you need to have the greatest gaming experience and the best customer experience. Yeah, you know that by heart. Otherwise, the customers won't stay.
But that stems from that the industry was not really ready. I mean, mobile gaming has been around for 20 years. I mean, we launched our first mobile games based on WAP back in 2001.
Yeah, that's different.
So, I mean, mobile gaming has always been around, but what we changed was that we made it as we said that mobile will make everything more fun. This is the primary direction. This is the DNA. This is where it all starts. And that was unique. And that's what we came up with, that insight, saying that smartphones really changed the landscape. It's the biggest technology change since the launch of commercial internet. And we wholeheartedly believed in that. And we were willing to just execute all the way on that specific vision. So when it comes to game providers, or when it came to payment providers, etc., we could be their reference case, the pioneer, their innovation partner, the one that really changed this market. Same goes for sort of media companies, etc. We were sort of spearheading the full mobile revolution for our industry. And hence, we had a chance to work with the most creative and most passionate minds that saw the same things as we did. And we were all able to channel that through LeoVegas.
It's great times.
Great times. And I think we should also send gratitude to the partners that were with us then. Because looking at that, for example, when we launched in January 2012, the biggest challenge was really payments. At that time, all the other gaming operators, they had payments on the desktop side, and you could possibly access the game through your mobile device. But the payments, that was tricky. And what was that? Actually, at that time, I knew of no one that actually had, in Sweden at least, that had made a credit card deposit outside of App Store. And we betted that would be the primary deposit sort of channel for us. We betted that people would actually, for the first time, pick up their credit cards and enter their sort of details on LeoVegas. And in order to do that, we had to work with the very best there was at that time. And we were the reference case and development partner for IGN, and really sitting with them. At that time, they were a pretty small company, startup size as we were, but they shared our passion for innovation, and they shared our dedication for details, that it just needed to be so smooth, so intuitive, so fast. So we could develop these amazing services together. Because if you're going to make payments easy for the customers, that's a difficult job for us. So you have to have that sort of full-on commitment to it. And and during our first year in Sweden, we were the company with the largest m-commerce volumes outside of App Store. An unknown brand launched sort of with just 5 people in January that year. So in that, what I want to come to is that I want to send gratitude to all the partners and people that were with us building that from that specific moments.
I remember that mobile first approach, because when I first joined, I think in the first couple of meetings, someone was showcasing registration flow, and initially they showed the desktop look, and I remember Robin just going, "Take it off. take it off. I want to see it. I want to see the mobile view. And I remember from then on, this was one of the first things that I actually adapted. And when providers came over and showcased their games, and whenever they came with desktop, I was, I'm not interested. I only want to see the mobile view. So this was really cool. And there's another, I don't want to plug too many memories, but this is something relevant to my next question is, when I first joined, LeoVegas wasn't public, so there was not that much information about performance out there. New company, startup, experimental, everything. So, you don't know what to expect. And I remember the first Monday meeting where you guys shared the KPIs. I came in all nervous, coming in a senior role. And then everybody was just shooting these amazing stats of deposits up, new players up, retained players up, and this was like double digits up, and I was just sitting there going, wow, this was a good choice. So it was fun to be in such a fast growing company. But this is what I wanted to ask. You said you had 6 to 8 weeks leadway on other companies launching the mobile proposition. How were you able to really capitalize on your position and grow so fast and aggressively in those first years?
It comes down to sort of really having a clear vision. Number one in mobile gaming. I mean, that was our vision. Providing the greatest gaming experience, because that was to happen on mobile devices. So whenever we had to make a decision, left or right, we come to a crossroad, left or right, we could always ask ourselves, what's most mobile? What gives the greatest gaming experience? So we could make decisions so quickly, and everyone knew where we're going, and paying attention to details, because that was just razor sharp focus on whom we are, because we were the mobile gaming experience, and we were the ones leading the way. I mean, that was our DNA. So it wasn't an adaptive strategy. That was whom we were and whom we still are. And I think that tells also quite well how we could grow in the technology, because you had this great trust in technology. From that day, we always wanted to have a technology advantage and being the technology leaders in the industry. I mean, that's one of the things that I really took with me from Stanford, that sort of having technology leading the way, and having business developed out of sort of what technology enables, always being the super forefront. So in our core team of 5, we have some amazing developers. And to grow that team, we simply asked, who inspires you? What person? And I was like, well, maybe that guy at EA Games is yes, but he has the best job in the industry. Okay, yes, let us talk to him. And then we went out and talked to him. And of course, he was amazing. And then we ran into a guy that was great in building platforms, architecture. He came on board and was like, but who would you like to realize it? Well, then me and Gustaf gets on to Växjö, because down there is that guy. And then we both go down and meet that guy. And that he turns out to be amazing, of course. And around him, we open a Växjö office, which continues to drive everything forward. So I think that momentum in finding people who trust and asking who they are inspired by. I mean, same thing with you, Karolina. We didn't have a casino team. We didn't have a casino team for the first 2 years. I was pretty much the casino team. But then I met you, and that made us decide to launch a casino team. A little later, we had live casino, and then
the best one in the industry, Karolina.
Exactly, and then sort of we wanted to launch. We launched live casino, but we didn't launch a live casino team until we found someone truly passionate and talented for running that business. So I think that's our way to always find the people that inspires the people and coming together and do amazing things.
So yeah, I think that's that's one answer to it. But another answer, because even if you have great people and you have a great product, you also need to tell the world, right? So what we have managed to do earlier, that was actually creating sort of very innovative banners, and we did a lot of media. We were very successful in our media sort of planning and how to sort of convert players. And really early days, extremely data driven. I remember back in those days when we were sort of taking down all the impressions that hit our banners down to conversion rates, 1, 2, third conversion, sign up, etc. And all the time, every time measuring everything, being extremely data driven. And so we launched LeoVegas basically with one of the largest mobile campaigns Schibsted's done ever back then. And I think there was a lot of guts in doing that. Really wanted to sort of trust in the product and in the people, but then also show the world that here we are.
I would say launching. We're talking about hours after our first launch, 2 hours after actually making LeoVegas available to the public. The largest mobile advertising campaign to date in Sweden was launched.
Yeah, it was launched, yes.
For LeoVegas. But we could do that in close collaboration with the media companies, because this was new to them as well. They've seen the traffic move from desktop to mobile, but all the advertisers were still sort of on desktop. So therefore, there was this imbalance of traffic that we were one of the few that could actually, in a data-driven way, monetize. I mean, you could say that format at that time with that interaction is so much more efficient than that other format, and hence sort of help out with their future pricing, etc.
Yes,
and in all honesty, when we went out that hard, believing in the mobile gaming experience, others had to follow. Others had to follow. So it turned out to be a pretty good play for also the media companies.
So talking about media, I would like to touch on a little bit on the marketing, because LeoVegas is very well known for that mobile revolution and product and everything, but you also excelled on marketing campaigns, not just optimized for mobile media channels, but the actual concepts and the PR that followed from this. So I remember the specific one that I wanted to talk to you about the first iPhone, but I don't want to tell the story. I want to hear it from you.
That was one of the things that we always try to do first with everything that when it comes to mobile. And this was back in 2014 when iPhone 6 was launched. And of course, we wanted to sort of grab the first ones. And I think it was in London, right?
Yeah.
We had some guys queuing up there and standing in front of the line for 9 or 10 days. And then when they opened up everything, of course, our guy was the first one entering. And he managed to buy 2 iPhone, which we then, of course, gave away for we had like a competition at the site. So you can have the first iPhone delivered to you directly from launch. Be the first one in UK with the iPhone 6. It might sound a little bit silly today, but back then, that was sort of a really, really, really big thing.
I think actually one could be even less humble about that one. What it came down to was that when Apple were to do an Apple release, I mean, they wouldn't call to a meeting in Cupertino unless they were to launch a new phone, something amazing. So the day before the Apple event, we actually placed a guy outside of Apple Store Regent Street in London, because we know that that was where they first launched their products. And from him, a queue launched. I mean, it was building a queue. We're talking about several hundred meters all around, like you only see on great concerts, etc. So buying tickets for that also gives a flair for the passion that and that was in the air around sort of new Apple products, mobile phones at that time.
It's really cool.
And as we had him standing in the front of the line for 10 days, we could run the campaign saying, "Who would like Europe's first iPhone 6? Who would like Europe's first iPhone 6? And seeing him picking up, having all the employees at the Apple Store just cheering him and putting forward and applauding and saying, "Wow, the media was there. You have cameras." I mean, it's really, really happening. Just because the simple idea that we knew that if there is an event that Apple is throwing, they're going to launch something new. And we want to be the ones leading that rollout. And same thing, if there was an Apple event, there still is. I mean, you're expected to be up and see that, because in the morning when we come into the office, people will talk about all the new features that were and gadgets that were about to be released. So that was a very natural part of what we were discussing at work. I know others speak about Premier League, but we were really supposed to talk about mobile products.
Mobile products, yeah.
I remember another unique thing that I saw in your marketing strategy back then, which is something I still believe to date, and it was not very popular back then, was this really great focus on the actual games, because you've got the product, but the content wasn't just content. You really showcase the games to the next level. And I think it was sometimes controversial, because people would say, why would you put Starburst on TV if it's the most commonly played game already? But I think that was the unique opportunity where it really became known that the games can drive acquisition more than any other type of messaging, and you've done a lot of these, right? So was that special strategy on focusing on games, and did that work for you when it comes to acquisition numbers?
I think
Well, definitely, I would say to show the games, but also show the mobile, extremely important for us in all commercials. So that being a mobile first company with the mobile DNA, once again, we wanted to show the mobile and tell people that this is where you should play. You should try out LeoVegas on the mobile, not on the desktop. So that's a big change, and that's also why we wanted to show the games, so that people understood that okay, the greatest games are on the mobile, and try it out.
I mean, LeoVegas is all about leading the way into the mobile future. And through that, we worked in a very close network with game developers, payment providers, etc. So we were able to showcase things early on and being part of development. I think one good example of that is when the Guns N' Roses game was launched from Netted. I mean, Guns N' Roses, I mean, it makes good TV, for sure. And we were working with an ambassador at that time, a great Olympic wrestler, fascinating and warm character. I mean, he's like a lion you just want to hug. I mean, amazing person. And he was to take on board Jon Olsson, who's well, he likes his cars for sure, and is a sporty guy. So I think exactly the combination of those two, seeing our ambassador Frank coming out with his bandana, really being the rocker in Guns N' Roses, the game go on, meeting up Jon, he's driving up this super fancy sports car that then actually appears in the next release from Netted, which is the game Drive, where we actually have that specific sports car with our LeoVegas logo onto inside the game, if you were playing it on LeoVegas. And I think that was new also for Netted to work so close. And when we came up with the ideas, that was fun for the whole sort of network, and because suddenly people had a chance to build things they had done before and tried out. Some worked, some didn't, but it was a playfulness to it that I think is really shining through the ads as well. I mean, that this is a brand you want to be with, hang out with. It's happening, and it's a great joy shining through from within.
I remember that Drive release because I was already there back then, and I think we were quite a challenging partner when it comes to setting expectation, because not only we wanted the game early, we wanted it perfectly optimized for mobile, but on top of that, we were like, what else can you innovate on? We want it branded.
Exactly. We want our car in there.
Yeah, we want the logo. Yeah,
I think that shines through very much in the how we developed the LeoVegas, and also the opportunities given as we weren't the game developers ourselves, but we could work in this network with the most talented people. It wasn't only Netted, were several other great studios and people that you had the chance with. If you were working at LeoVegas, I mean, you know that you could work with the very best, both inside the company, but also throughout the industry, which is one of my great joys, seeing people really grow and flourish in this LeoVegas context. And I think also culture, we were able to set the standard at LeoVegas between the partners, etc. We do not compete. Instead, we share, we're curious, we learn, we grow. And it was an environment where people really were flourishing and doing amazing things for the very first time. And showing innovation in that setting had a huge gravity in itself of attracting the both inside and outside the companies, the very best ideas. Because they know that we never compromise on quality. We never compromise on quality.
Exactly.
And we always...
it's an important factor, actually.
We never compromise on quality, and we always set the mobile experience first.
I think it's super interesting to hear this the story from you guys, because to me, obviously, I know most of these things, but I think it's not been said many times externally. So great that we can share it. Now, fast forward to today, LeoVegas has grown to be a large multi-brand, multi-market organization. And I just wanted to check with you if you could tell us a little bit directly from the source some of the reasoning behind your key acquisitions and expanding the portfolio, market entries, Royal Panda, and so on.
Sure, yeah, I can answer that question a bit here. So back in 2016-17, we acquired, the first acquisition we made was an Italian company. At that time, it was named Vinga. They had a great position in Italy, a great team, and really sort of good spirit within that office. And we renamed it LeoVegas Italy, and extremely successful, because today Italy is one of the core markets to us, and it's growing really fast. And I think it's a testimony as well for how well you can make it with a great product. Because for you who know the Italian market, it's kind of hard to do marketing, since it's a marketing ban in Italy. So you have to rely on having the best product. And again, that's what we got, a really good product for the Italian market. We continue to acquire a company in the UK called Rocket-X. Also a great team with several brands in the UK market, actually. Also rebranded to LeoVegas UK today, and we still run a majority of those brands. But we migrated all of them onto our own platform as of last spring. And then we also acquired Royal Panda, which is sort of the second universal brand within the group, besides LeoVegas. So it works on sort of multiple jurisdictions and so on. And lately then we acquired Expekt, which is a really feels really great to acquire Expekt, because that's an old Swedish or Nordic brand with a great sort of attachment and a brand name. And with Expekt, we also widened the strategy into sport. So actually we have a sport first brand. If you think about it, LeoVegas is more known to be a casino brand, and the sport product will be the second product on LeoVegas. But for Expekt, that will be the opposite. So that's a sports first brand. And of course, a lot of things will happen when we launch the new Expekt, as we call it. Will be launched end of May at some point. We are working really hard now with the migration and everything, and to build a new experience around what we call the new Expekt. So all in all, I think acquisitions will be a part of our future, but also to create brands ourselves. With our own platform, we can create our own brand and breed our own brands, which we've also done during the years with, for instance, GoGo Casino and livecasino.com. Mm-hmm. So there's a multiple strategy in that sense.
And what would you say is the role of technology in this? Because many companies exercise these acquisition strategy and acquire multi-brand and so on, but not all of them are able to bring it to the core technology and make that really benefit. So I think this was important for you, right?
Of course, that's I would say it's a core part of it, because we always want to build something. Even if we acquire a company, we would like to do the best out of the mobile at all times. So that's, if you talk about Expekt now, we will mobilize Expekt even more, and I can't disclose everything what's going on, but there will be a lot of new features, and of course a much greater experience for all old and new Expekt customers. But it will be, we bring all the sort of knowledge from LeoVegas onto Expekt when it comes to sports betting. So that's, I think you will see something entirely new in end of May, right before the football season starts.
Okay, cool, and that's exciting, and I think many people are counting for the release of innovative features on Sportsbook now. You've got a pretty amazing and busy year for your product teams last year. I follow, obviously, out of sentiment, LeoVegas closely still. So there was a lot of interesting product development announcements in the past 12 to 18 months. What would you say are the key ones that complement your portfolio and really reinforce, again, this greatest gaming experience type of messaging?
When it comes to the product, I think there's so many things. It's hard to pick one, but in-game deposit, for instance, and then we launched the Leo Jackpot, which has been a huge success, and the Blast lately, and well, there's so much things going on at the same time. It's really hard to pinpoint just one thing.
Yeah.
But innovation is at heart at LeoVegas, so it's continues to innovate all the time.
And I think that really came from the start, that we had a great trust in having technology leadership, which enabled us to do things that others just couldn't. And I think that playfulness, combining the curiosity for technology all through the organization with the curiosity for the craftsmanship of gaming into the product development, made it extremely fruitful for innovation. And having that leading all the way, I mean, when we first started, we had a principle of always first with the latest. That means games should always be first launched. And so we were building a network with games. Okay, but we also wanted the most innovative and features in general. So we took a step back and said, what makes mobile so different and so great? And it rests actually on three principles. First of all, in the mobile world, everything needs to be fast, intuitive, and fun and friendly. That was sort of the starting point how to do things. So therefore, we can take a string of pearls of innovations. Like, for example, when it comes to speed, of course, we optimized speed, and we had the best sort of technology for it itself. But then on top of that, we added features like game load accelerator, which means that we predicted what games to load, and it was loaded in the background when we were already in the scene. So we not only took the technology, but we wanted that to feel even faster. And same thing with making everything intuitive, spending so much time on the UX UI with that sort of every little nitty-gritty touch and feel and incorporate that, because iPhones don't come with a manual, nor does LeoVegas. So we needed that to be so intuitive and slick. And also, I think in this process, one could feel the sort of fun and friendliness of things we do. And we didn't have to be loud or braggy. We were sort of nice to hang out with and nice and great. And I think that comes from a philosophy that if you're strong, you can also be kind. You need to be kind, and I think that's that you could feel in the product in itself. Yeah. So I think that's really what it comes to. I mean, having a technology leadership that actually creates a culture of innovation and joy.
Definitely.
I think a notable release that we discussed even on a Clubhouse session last week, and I would like to congratulate you on, was the release of the first gaming app in the Android store. I think that's sort of underlines the first with the latest, and it's a really impactful release. So congrats on that. Now, the news also, you're full of news in the last weeks. I know that LeoVegas shares are now trading on the US stock exchange. So wanted to use this opportunity to talk a little bit about the IPO, the ringing the bell, the road to it, and how did it feel? I mean, maybe even you can tell me what was the moment where you decided you're going to take the company public, and sort of the events that followed, all the moments to the actual bell ringing.
Well, at what time did we do that? Maybe a year, or maybe a little bit even further than that. But 2014, 15, at some point we started to think about it, at least. And we always thought that LeoVegas should have a great fit, being a public company, being transparent and so on, and also building a foundation to grow from, and get the name out there, more or less, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, originally we didn't start a company to do an IPO, but we wanted to build a company super solid. We wanted to be professional, super professional in all we do. So when it's time to ring the bell, we stand there ready. And I think that's more the principle on a philosophy how to build a company in itself. And I must say that standing there ringing that bell is just awesome. I can truly recommend that to any entrepreneur out there. I mean, it's because in business life, you don't have all that many ceremonies, because when you're standing there, that's something actually a moment that you share with everyone.
It's like winning the World Cup.
Yeah, compared to if you sell a company. I mean, it's great. You get the check, but people are not really happy for you. While ringing that bell, that's the opposite. It's actually coming through all our hard efforts, all the things that we've been through together, and we share that moment. And I think it's super, super strong. And that's one of the few rituals there are in business life. And ringing that bell and knowing that this is the platform for growth, and being able to be transparent to the world and say, this is whom we are, and this is where we're going to drive the company. This is what we believe in. And if you want to join our movement, you now have the opportunity to do so. And that's the philosophy between for an IPO. And on that note, actually, talking about the company, I think what we were really successful in was building a culture where LeoVegas mobile gaming group was more of a movement than a company in itself. You were there, you were part of something great. You were leading the way, which means that everyone working with the company could be the very best in their field and learning from the very best in associated fields and things that you're curious about, and as we were doing things for the very first time, because that's a great thing with innovation. No one can come saying, "Oh, this is how we do things, so you shouldn't." It's just we were able to grow and do amazing things, and that made people grow. And that's looking at that. I think through the journey, for me personally, the strongest moments, not to diminish the IPO in itself, is really when people come up to you and say, sort of, "Robin, you changed my life. You really made me. You were able to take me to do things that I wouldn't have done elsewhere, experience things that I never thought was possible, and sharing those moments together." I mean, that's the great reward and gift for starting it. Sharing those moments with great people and being able to grow together. And I think that's what I would like to send forward to future entrepreneurs, etc. That's the thing that you should have close to your heart, seeing people grow and doing amazing things together.
But you were always really strong on that. I have to say, this was something I loved about working for the company. And I specifically remember from the award ceremonies, from the very first one that I attended probably 6 months after I joined. So I literally could claim almost zero credit for that award. But, you know, I arrived at the ceremony and I was pushed in the middle of the stage to the main picture. And I think you did it with a lot of employees. Yes. And everybody was like, wow, that was a statement, you know, from you guys. And you've done it a lot with a lot of different employees, shared the spotlight, shed the spotlight on others. So yeah, that's something that really shows the leadership style. I enjoyed working with you. Now, I wanted to ask you a little bit about the current year and the situation that we're in. Obviously, unfortunate events of COVID pandemic and the impact on different organizations. You know, you are known for your summits and for the big events, and starting from, you know, skiing trips in the Alps for the small company to taking over a big town in the mountains for 800 people. Tell us a little bit about those events, because I'm not sure whether that's known sort of in the industry of how much heart was put into this, and what kind of events you organize. And then, you know, how did the pandemic impact on ability to provide employees with that kind of experience?
I mean, if I start with the first part on it, how was it created? Because in LeoVegas, we wanted a culture where we're actually curious on each other, we learn from each other, we grow, and we win together.
We call it Team Leo, and that's core to us. So it's important for us to, everyone should feel at home, feeling that this is like a family, more or less.
And then we started a company itself, growing the tech team based on Stockholm and Sweden in general, being able to have this sort of the very most talented and most passionate developers sort of one could find in an atmosphere here in Stockholm, which is really a strong tech hub, combined with I mean, it's an amazing environment to work within. Combined with Malta, which is an operational hub. I mean, after living 4 years in Malta, I must say that I'm so grateful for everything that the country has been giving, how welcoming the people have been, the entrepreneurial cluster there with sort of people that really want to grow and build things. I mean, it's a fantastic atmosphere. And I think LeoVegas managed to combine those two worlds with a technology leadership and an understanding of the craftsmanship for gaming and all the operations ideas around that. And we wanted that to not only be understood, but felt. Coming together, and that feeling of coming together, all of us feeling like one Leo, and winning together was so strong. So that was actually the funding part. I mean, the first time we did the summit, we were all 25 of us on Tip Top 1 in Malta. All 25 of us, and we were joking about that maybe next year we wouldn't fit into this boat. We've been right on many things, but on that one we were dead wrong.
Yeah, really wrong. Yeah,
but
outgrown really fast. Yeah.
And also, you mentioned Geek Trip, Karolina. I mean, when we reached 100 employees, me and Gustaf had this dream of taking sort of 100 first employees and by then really good friends to the Alps. So we actually financed that ourselves. Instead of doing it as a company event, we invited us 100 people up to the Alps, Kitzbühel, Kempinski, and having sort of this fantastic moment for us, I would say. I mean, maybe it was important for the company growth and stuff, but for us being able to stand in there, I mean, that's something
you always want to share. But
everyone as well. The idea of being able to invite 100 friends to the Alps and just sort of living through this moments together, I think that's super strong and rewarding for us as entrepreneurs. And I hope the others had fun too.
Well, I was employee number 101 because I remember this precisely, and I remember coming for my third interview into LeoVegas office, and right before the interview, Gustaf was passing by, and he just said, "Karolina, you've got skis. You should pack your bag." And I'm like, that sort of gives it away. I probably got the job. But I remember, being offered the trip before I even started. So, and it was an amazing trip, really memorable.
That's what made you choose LeoVegas.
Yeah, perhaps. So what did you do now? The situation now. You've got offices split across many countries. UK, a couple of different cities in Sweden,
yeah.
Italy. How were the teams able to still come in the spirit of Leo and celebrate together? Did you put any summit in place, or how did it work?
Maybe we should say that up until this year, the pandemic, we all gathered in Malta, the full company, all of us for the summer summits, and sharing sort of what the future will hold in itself, and being ready for the next level of accomplishments.
Exactly. So, but this year we had to do it digital. So we had a Kings and Queens, that's what we call it, a digital summit. Actually went out really well, and people seems to enjoyed it. People were getting sort of a box with a little bit of candy and champagne and etc. in it, and we managed to sort of get the feeling of Team Leo across the company, and even if it was digital, I think so. It turned out quite well.
Yeah, I'm sure that eventually we'll get back to normality and you'll resume your normal practice, because for me these were very memorable events, and one of the events I even went with my 5-year-old baby just to be part of it because I didn't want to miss out. Right. So now we're talking about pandemic, so let me touch a little bit on a more serious subject as well that is relevant to it, which is regulation. Gustaf, I know that you are also quite vocal in this space on where do you think regulation is going, the impact on channelization, and can you share some of those views with us, and especially in the context of pandemic restrictions?
Sure, yeah. So we always set out sort of to be in countries that are either already regulated or soon to be regulated. And with soon to be regulated countries, we meant like Sweden, actually, who we started off in 2012, and then it became regulated in 2019. But yeah, so when it comes to the restrictions during the pandemic, it looks a little bit different in different countries. Of course, to some extent, you could say that overall, what's happening in society is that it's a huge shift from offline going online, generally speaking. we can see that in some of our countries, like Italy, Spain, etc., where there's not any new restrictions online, so to speak. And there's also where it has been a huge offline sector. And those people are now playing online to a large extent. And of course, I think some of them will go back. But once you have started to play online and see all the sort of how good and well you could play online, then you will probably stay there as well. And then you have other countries like here in Sweden where you have temporary restrictions, and of course that puts some pressure on the industry, etc. And to some extent, it also creates something that we call like a little bit of a black market, meaning that you have casinos or people operators running in Sweden without the license and stuff like that. And here's where I think the authorities might have been a little bit behind in sort of restrict that part of the industry, and taking measures against unlicensed operators. And I think that's core. Otherwise, how should you sort of maintain a legalized or licensed system if you can't sort of prohibit the ones who aren't licensed? So to some extent, I think it will, as long as it will work out eventually, but it takes time, and hopefully they will do more about it.
So this was something that has been discussed as well with the UK market, and Ulrich was referring to the report where they showed how many millions of visits on sort of black market sites there are every year.
Exactly.
And it's the same happening in Germany right now. So it's a really interesting subject to see how it develops. Taking back to the more fun subjects again, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about ventures, because I think maybe not everyone realizes what ventures is. To me, it's just another statement of sort of innovation deeply enrooted into the DNA of the group. But can you tell us a little bit about what is ventures? Why has it been established? What has it been up to in the last years, and why?
Now, we established LeoVentures for a very simple principle. We believe in the power of entrepreneurship. I mean, entrepreneurship is the X factor in business life. I mean, that's the fundament of the wow. And I mean, as a group, LeoVegas really always wants to hold the position as most innovative, most entrepreneurial, but also most forward-leaning with new technologies and new behavioral trends. So through the LeoVentures setting, we have the chance to invest in and grow great new companies that can keep their entrepreneurial sort of independence while being back with the full power of capital and knowledge from the full LeoVegas mobile gaming group.
And you've got go ahead. But I remember previously, to name a couple of, you've supported and invested in Authentic Gaming that has developed greatly through this partnership. Casino Grounds. Name a couple of other ones that people might not be aware of.
I think it's interesting that you mentioned those two, and also publ fits into the same framework, where we saw a trend that mobile really became the primary entertainment device, but people still loved video. And for a while, so we wanted to catch that trend when video and the social elements of that video actually went mobile. And I mean, that's very clear with live casino. I mean, of course, it's very obvious with the potential of the esports community, and also casino grounds. And I think we will see personally a lot more in this field where video is such a strong driver entertainment, but where you add technology and interactive layers for interaction going forward. So that's an example of seeing a trend and acting on it, where it's very close to what we do as a core, but strategically important to be spearheading.
Yeah, and
Yes.
I would like to use this opportunity because it would be silly of me not to, but I'm extremely proud that Ventures have decided to back my own startup journey. Yeah, so maybe
Shared
not
play.
to shared
Yes.
play. Yes, it's been in the news, and I'm very grateful for the support, and I have great hopes, having seen firsthand how you helped to grow companies like Authentic or Casino Grounds. But not to focus too much on it, I would like to understand in more objective elements of what makes it a part of the trends. What are the different elements that you look at when you invest in new businesses, so that it's an advice for other founders as well who aspire to pitch their ideas and their startups.
Well, a little bit what Robin said here. What we look at, trends, of course, innovation, and maybe innovation that we can't do ourselves. We do a lot internally, but might be more focused on actually the brands that we already got and the markets that we already are in. But here we can see something different, something new. We understand that this might be the future, or this technology we could utilize within the group later on, etc. And that's a basic foundation to why we do those kind of investments. And then those kind of investments could sort of come to us either internally, that we see something or understand something or see a trend, or it could be actually from, well, a good example is the Casino Ground guys, who actually comes with a lot of sort of ideas to us and try to sort of convince me sometimes that I should buy shares or buy parts of this company or that company or whatever it might be. And if it fits, right, maybe we consider it. And well, this time, Karolina, I'm really, really happy to have you back, so to speak. And I can see your orange heart is still is still there, right?
There is.
For LeoVegas and the group. So again, very much welcome. You got a huge group-wide welcome last Monday, but here you got one from the two founders as well.
Thank you. And I think it's important in relationships with investor where, it is professional relationship aside, but it creates a great level of trust, and it's just so much more fun to be on this journey where the people that you have backing you trust them and you know them. It's much easier, I think. So, Robin, I wanted to ask you as well, because I know you've moved on from an active sort of role within the group, whereas I don't believe that you'll ever move on completely, being so attached. But tell us what you're up to these days. I know that you're also active on the Stockholm investment scene, tech scene. I'd be interested for you to give us a sneak peek of your days these days.
No, absolutely. No, but that is correct. Apart from being a founder and a key shareholder, I do not hold any active roles within the group now. But I'm really, really keen to see this lovely group's continued success. So all behind that, and you're absolutely right. That's something I will never ever let go of. Looking at also staying on that, what we really built here makes me immensely proud for not only, the company's success in itself, but the chance to have met so many amazing people in a phase where people really grow, learn, and to somewhat more live their potential. And I think living your potential is one of the things that has most fascinated me and has been one of my strongest drives. And right now, I would say if the mobile phone, the mobile era was the great sort of revolution of the last decade, I think the next revolution we will see is really centered about humans. The power of really seeing the chance to live your own potential when it comes to, and we see so many things going in the wrong direction. Looking at physical activity, mental health, sleep disorders. There's just so many trends that are really drawing people away from living their potential, which is the thing that I'm extremely passionate about. So that has been a focus also on the investment side and tech ventures. I can mention one of them, for example, together with Mats Sundin, Sudan, the hockey player. Amazing guy, a true captain. And together with him and the Olympic Committee, we developed methodology and plans to actually drive behavioral change, and actually empowering companies with the strength of physical activity in order to build sustainable employees and having people to really live their potential. So that's one thing I can mention, and also that I'm really passionate about.
That sounds really interesting.
And but it is, and also the one must remember that what I love seeing people and companies grow. I mean, more than anything, I would say I'm a business creator, and creator, that means being really close to people that creates, either if you're the entrepreneur or you're in a setting with people that really build amazing things and being good to each other. And I think the missing component in this that has been shown by tech is that to highlight the human potential. And I think every venture that is looking into breaking the barriers of human potential is something that totally fascinates me. So more of that to come.
Well, talking about the future, the trends, and I wanted to ask you about, in brief, what is there for LeoVegas in the future? We have a market rife with M&As. The US is hungry for innovative and well-performing companies, and the market itself is ready for new entries. I don't know if you can reveal any of the plans or ambitions, but I think it will be super interesting to many people to hear what's next for LeoVegas. What does the future hold?
Well, we will of course continue innovate in basically in everything we do, both with current brands in current markets, sort of dig where you stand, better product and better customer experience, etc. But also exploring new markets. And no, I can't share any new markets with you like that, but for sure we're looking closely to a lot of new markets, and
all right.
But continue build the brand LeoVegas.
That's I think everybody is curious for those news. It's a very interesting time for all gaming companies, and with the boom in the US. Now to wrap up, I think we are going over a little bit of time. This was an amazingly interesting conversation and a really fun way to chat to you. If I can ask you the last question, you guys knew each other from high school, co-founded this company together. And I like to always plug in some kind of advice for new founders, because I find myself in this group myself these days, and I like to champion this practice of pay it forward, share some expertise. If you were going to give your top advice, one advice each to a new founder, what would it be?
Well, first of all, you need to meet with someone that you can trust, and maybe someone that you had worked with before or that you understand to some extent. And then of course, the normal words when you ask people who should I find as a partner or a companion or whatever, someone who complements you, etc. So I mean, that fundamental has to be that, but then also the enjoyable and the fun. You need to have fun together, because it's going to be long days, long hours, long weeks, and it's going to be a lot of you have to have the same kind of vision for where you're going. Otherwise, it's going to be really hard to pull it together and do it together.
And I think, as Gustaf said, I mean, when it comes to co-founding partners, the first thing is really about trust, but also an enjoyment, and asking yourself, when you stand there and ring that bell, who would you like to have on your right-hand side?
Right.
You're the lion.
Great.
And also, when it comes to advice to future entrepreneurs, I mean, it's a passion for growing things and being good to others. And at the end of the day, it comes down to not really what you do, but who you're doing it with that makes it memorable.
Right. Well, definitely my journey with you guys was very memorable, and I'm excited for the next chapter, even though it's in a different context and capacity of an investor. Thank you very much for this time today. I think we covered a lot of interesting subjects. I love to catch up with both of you separately to go deeper in some of the matters at some point. But yes, thank you for your time, and look forward to seeing you again when the pandemic is over.
Thank you so much, Karolina.
Thank you so much,
really
Karolina.
Awesome to be here, to be part of your pod. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
See you soon, okay?
Take care.
Take care.